So when I was in school, I never told anyone I played Yu-Gi-Oh! And like I just graduated high school. So like I'm young, I'm 18, like I graduated last year. So yeah, that's what I want to talk about. Yu-Gi-Oh! In school. Now, like I said, when I was in school, high school is just it's one of the worst. I don't even know how to describe it. It's an amazing 4 years, but could also be the worst 4 years for some people, because you know a lot of shit goes down in high school. So, anyways, when I was in high school, you know I played sports. I was a jock. I have a Letterman jacket. I have my class ring. I had the whole deal. One of the dances, the whole deal, right? And I kept it away from like my peers that I played Yu-Gi-Oh! And I don't know what kind of person that makes me, but the main reason why I didn't want people to know is because I was embarrassed. I'll admit it. I was embarrassed letting people know that I played Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a very... I'll be honest with you. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is pretty nerdy. You know, like, when you're a kid, everyone played Yu-Gi-Oh! Because you're a fucking kid and nobody cared. And Yu-Gi-Oh! was the shit. But now it's like, dude, you're like 17 or 18, you're still playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, what? But I play it. Like, I'm good at it. I think I'm good at it. I love it. It's fun. It's a good pastime. Whatever. You know? So yeah, like I was saying, when I was in high school, I never really played. Like, I didn't tell anyone I played at all. The only people that knew who I played were my cousin, because we didn't go to the same school, so he's the one that got me into it. I barely started playing, like, end of my junior, like, summer going into my senior year anyway, so regardless, that's when I started playing, but, yeah, so senior year, I was playing Yu-Gi-Oh! It was kind of weird, too, because, like, I'd be walking around the school like a boss, like I owned the fucking place, because again, I had that, I always try to keep that really, like, the attitude, that confidence, so I would just walk around school like whatever, and I'm talking to my friends or whatever, and as I'm talking to my friends, I hear, like, these kids walking by me, like, kids that I normally wouldn't associate myself with, just walking by and saying, like, oh yeah, then I brought out Shien, and Nagatama saved my ass, and I was just like, I know what he's talking about. I know what he's talking about. But I couldn't say anything, because, like, my friends didn't know I played Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, people, my closest friends knew that I played Yu-Gi-Oh! But regardless if they knew, I can't really tell them, hey, do you get it because he is Shien? He's not going to know, you know? So, it was just hard. Like, not that it was hard, it was just, like, it's one of those things that I had to keep on the down low, just because Yu-Gi-Oh! Just is nerdy. So, I remember, this one time, like, college after being filled out, whatever, and one of my favorite teachers, he told me to lead his chess club thing. I didn't want to do it, but he told me to do it, and he'll write it on the college recommendations, so I did it, right? Anyway, so, like, I became part of this whole chess club thing, and I was just running it just to be the president, just so I can have the thing on my college application. So I held that during lunch, you know, kids would come, whatever, and I'd just be chilling there, and then I got my friend Micah to do it. He was like my best friend. Yeah, he was one of my best friends in high school. He's a year younger than me, so he's still in high school. And you know, he was like one of my best friends. He's the close guy ever. Anyway, so I remember one time where we were playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Whatever, we were talking, and he is like me. Me and him both act like children, like we're kids at heart. And so I was telling him about Yu-Gi-Oh! And stuff, and he's like, oh, I still play Yu-Gi-Oh! Too. And I was like, really? You do? Let's play. And this was back then when I had my alien deck, so I was barely getting into the game. But he's like, oh yeah, I play Yu-Gi-Oh! I'll kick your ass. And I was like, no, you won't. So one day he brought his cards to school, and when we had the chess club meeting, me and him ended up just playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Right? And at the time, his deck was, I'm sorry, Micah, but your deck was terrible. It was one of those things where it was a random assortment of cards. You know, it was one of those things. And then when I showed him, like, how decks need synergy to work, he started getting into the game. And he made Gravekeepers. And he whooped my ass after that. It was crazy, because Micah's a really smart guy. Anyway, so after that one day, it kind of started becoming a recurring thing. I took my cards to school the days we had chess club meetings, and I would play with him Yu-Gi-Oh! in one of our teachers' classrooms. And I felt comfortable doing that because it was in a closed environment and nobody saw, nobody knew, so I didn't care. So we kept playing, right? And eventually, the other kids in the chess club, they kind of looked over and were just like, these kids are playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And then they brought their cards, and we started all playing together. And then it got to the point where the teacher's class we were in was like, you guys aren't even doing a chess club thing anymore, so why are you guys here? So eventually we left that classroom, and I talked to my other teacher, it was my other science teacher, the class I TA'd for. I asked her if we can come into her classrooms certain days to just... I literally told her this. Miss Miana, can we come into your classroom so we can play a certain card game in here and feel comfortable? And she was very confused. She was like, what kind of game are you guys talking about? And I told her, I'm like, to be honest, we play Yu-Gi-Oh! And we have nowhere to play, and I feel embarrassed playing outside, so can we just play in your classroom? And she looked me dead in the eye, and she's like, Chris, it is perfectly fine for you to use my classroom to play a card game. And ever since then, on Tuesdays and Thursdays of the second semester of my senior year, me and my friend Michael would meet up in that classroom, a bunch of other kids would meet up in that classroom, and we just play Yu-Gi-Oh! During lunch. And no joke, when people would ask me, where do you go during lunch? The chess club thing. Oh, you're in chess club? I'm like, nah, it's college apps. That's exactly what I would say. I wouldn't tell anyone I played Yu-Gi-Oh! And I feel bad for lying to people like that, because, like, if it was now, like, I think about it, I should have told them, yeah, I play Yu-Gi-Oh! And what? But I didn't. I don't know why. So, yeah, we started doing that, and then eventually a lot more kids started coming, hearing about this place where you could play Yu-Gi-Oh! During lunch. And I got a lot of kids going. I got to some where it was about 15, 20 kids just going to this classroom during lunch. You know? And I feel weird saying this, but normally those are, like, the kids who would go were, like, students, like kids who I wouldn't normally associate myself with outside of Yu-Gi-Oh! It's kind of weird how, like different people from different peer groups can really get intertwined with each other just off of one card game. I think it just really goes to show that Yu-Gi-Oh! Can be played by anyone, and it means a lot to people. Like, to me, Yu-Gi-Oh! Does mean a certain amount to me. Like, I think it's really important, like, in my daily, like, schedule, because not only do I use Yu-Gi-Oh! Just, like, to think a lot, because there's times when I am playing, and I always try to think of the best possible way to do a certain play, or just to win. But it's a stress reliever, but it also gives me a lot of, like thrill of competition. I love that feeling. I love the anxiety I get when I'm playing for cards, or when I'm at a regionals. It just helps me a lot. So I think it's amazing how everyone got intertwined like that, and it was just weird, you know. So I started playing and playing and playing, and then I remember I had morning practice for swim and water polo, and I'd have to be at the school pool deck at 6 in the morning. And we'd swim, or we'd do drills, or we'd do weight room until 7:20, and then we'd be in the showers. And once we're out of the showers, you remember, Michael was on the water polo team with me, so that's why I'd hang out with him so much. We were leaving the pool deck once, and we walked by, and we looked over, and there was these kids I'd never seen before. They were sitting down on the floor, like under the bleachers, and they were playing. And I looked over, and I was like, hey, Micah, and he was like, what? And I was like, shh, look. And he looked over, and he was like, playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And I was like, I know, right? So we kind of just like, and then we had morning practice every other day. So for the next like 2 weeks, we would literally just walk by, and then we'd start walking slower than everyone else, and we'd just be like, he's running gadgets. He's running Sams. That kid's a noob. We would do that. We would just, and we were like, go talk to him, go tell him to go to the room. And I was like, no, you go. And he was like, no, you go. Like, neither of us wanted people to know that we played Yu-Gi-Oh! Because we're both like on sports. We weren't the kind of people to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And like, it's weird. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't have the balls to go up and ask them, oh, you want to go play during lunch this day? And that's embarrassing. Like, I feel bad. Like, I feel ashamed of myself for being that kind of person. Eventually, we walked by one day, and I saw my friend Ruben, who was in my first period, my English class, and I stopped, and I was like, I walked by over there, right? And as I walked, I just stood there, and he's like, oh, what's up, Chris? And I said hi to him, right? And he looked at me, and he gave me kind of an embarrassed look, like, oh, yeah, I play Yu-Gi-Oh! He didn't say anything. So they were playing, and I remember the matchup. It was Heroes against Chaos Sworn. And he goes, I forgot what he did. I think he used Miracle Fusion, and he didn't make Shining, and then he got it blown up by JD, and then he had a Gemini Spark in his hand, right? So my friend Ruben lost, and as soon as he lost, I was like, hey, why didn't you use Miracle Fusion, and then you maybe make Shining, and then when you blew it up, you could have gotten your Alias back, and then popped the JD with the Gemini Spark. And his reaction was priceless. It was literally like, you play Yu-Gi-Oh? And I was like, yeah, I play Yu-Gi-Oh! And it was just amazing. Ever since then, like, I don't know, it was funny. Because he was so confused. Like, so I told him, get your friends, go to this classroom, we'll chill, we'll hang out, we'll play, right? And the guy who was playing, his guy's name was Choji, right? So I remember I played him. that the next Tuesday we went. I played him, and yeah, it was when I was running Watts. I was running Watts already, and I had my consistent build, and he was using Lightsworns. So I played him and I 2-0'd him, right? I 2-0'd this guy Choji, and he's a really good friend now. But when I beat him, Ruben was like, "You just beat Choji?" And I was like, yeah, why?" And he was all astonished. Then we played again, and he was using a Chain Burn, and I beat him again. And we played the next week, he was using Frogs, and I beat him again. And then he beat me, right? So then Choji started inviting his friends. And then I remember I didn't go on a certain day for whatever reason, but the next week that I went, there was like 4 other new kids there. And there was this really cocky kid all of a sudden. He was just there, and he's like, "Oh, you want to play?" And I was like, yeah, sure. And he was like, all right, let's play. And I was like, and then he was like, "Oh yeah, I'll beat you, and then I'll beat your friend next." And I was just like, "Whoa, bro, do you even know who I am?" So I didn't say that, but when he said that, I asked him, "Do you want to play for cards?" And he's like, "No, I don't like playing for cards." So I said, whatever. I told him whatever. So I played him, and I 2-0'd him. He was running like a junk doppel deck, and I 2-0'd him. And the way I won game 2 was just literally set Dyna past turn. He went off. And main phase, I Veiler his Stardust, and he attacked into Dyna, and I just won from there. Anyway, after I beat him, I was like, "Hey Choji, you want to play again? I'll kick your ass again." And then he looks at me dead in the eye, and he's like, "You beat Choji?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was literally just like, "How'd you beat Choji?" And I was like, "I just beat him." And apparently, like I told you, was like the king of the school in Yu-Gi-Oh, and nobody had beaten him. And then I just stepped out of nowhere, and I just beat him. And ever since then, me and Choji had the rivalry for the whole semester. Just who was gonna win? Frogs against Watts. So eventually, we really didn't settle. We never really settled it, because we literally ended the year with I won 3 matches, he won 3 matches, and we were going into game 3 of our 4th match, and we never finished it because the year ended. So yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I didn't tell anyone I played in school. People didn't know I played. When people found out I played, it was kind of like eventually people started like finding out, because like me and Michael would talk about it during practice, or sometimes I'd have my trades at school, and he'd be like, "Oh, let me get this card," and I tell him like, "Let's not do it here on the pool deck," and he's like, "Nah, whatever." And after a while, I didn't care because it was my team, and then the girls' team was there too, so that was kind of embarrassing. But eventually, like some girls from the girls' swim and water polo team saw me playing or trading cards with Mike, and they asked me, "You play Yu-Gi-Oh?" And I was like, "Oh yeah," and they said it was cute, and they were all interested in it. So I was explaining to them the economics and how much cards are, and the prices and how they go up and down, and regionals and shit. And yeah, it was cool. So like, yeah, I don't know. If you're still in school, if you're in high school, and if you were like me and you're embarrassed of playing, I'm not gonna say go out and tell everyone you play, because I know not everyone wants to do that, but if people ask you, don't deny it either. I never denied it. When people ask me, "Chris, you play Yu-Gi-Oh?" I would be like, "Yeah, I play Yu-Gi-Oh." I won't deny it, but it's not something, it's till now, today, it's still not something I'm gonna go tell everyone. I'm not gonna flaunt it. I'm not gonna say, "Oh yeah, I have this Yu-Gi-Oh memes page, I have this Yu-Gi-Oh memes channel, go check it out." No, I don't tell people I play Yu-Gi-Oh. I really don't. If people ask me, I will tell them, "Yeah, sure, I play Yu-Gi-Oh." But I will not go out of my way, because I still find it kind of embarrassing that I play Yu-Gi-Oh, but I love it. It's something that I love. And I have been telling more people. A lot more people know that I play Yu-Gi-Oh. People know me as, like, the guy who has, like, dimples and is the most attractive guy you've ever seen, but plays Yu-Gi-Oh. And it's weird. Yeah. So, thanks for that. And I'll catch you guys later.